Well, hello and welcome to Hello Chaos, the podcast for founders really in the thick of it. That messy middle is what we call it. And we get the questions, the pressure, the chaos that no one puts on LinkedIn. So no fairy tales here, just the real work of what it takes to start and build a business. Today we have on our show Brian Samson. He is the founder of Plugg Technologies, which is a leading nearshore firm connecting Latin America talent with U.S. companies. And he is calling out of Hawaii. And Brian, remind me of the island that you're on. But thank you for coming on the show so early.
Yeah, no, I'm honored to be here. I wouldn't miss it. Set my alarm, ready for Hello Chaos. I'm in Oahu, so Oahu's the one that's got most of the population. I think there's 1.4 million in the state, and about 1 million are on Oahu.
Oh,
so
my
you
goodness!
Have to take it to the other islands, a lot more sparse.
Yeah, I was
large
just saying.
spaces.
I was on Kapa'a or what is that, Kauai Island, and the little bit we went all over the island, and it's beautiful. But you're right, it's not commercialized. It's not very not very populated. It's like countryside.
Yeah. If you want to get away from everything, it's a great spot. But if you need furniture delivered tomorrow, it's not a great spot.
That's right. That's right. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. So kick us off, Brian. Like, what inspired you to start Plugg Technologies? How did you get into the entrepreneur and the founder space?
Yeah, sure. So I have been in this space called nearshoring for over 10 years. I'm sure your audience is very familiar with the term offshoring. It's a term that's lived for a long time, probably even before I was alive. But the way we tend to think of offshoring is there's a big ocean in between where the work is done. And we're very US centric. I think if you live in the US, what does offshoring mean to me?
Right.
Well, offshoring to me typically means Asia. And Asia is going to be very cost effective. So the big three countries, China is where we've gone to for manufacturing forever. If you've got an iPhone, it's probably made there. India has been the IT offshoring base forever. And then the Philippines have become like the world's call center, right? Like back office virtual assistants. So we tend to look at Asia for cost efficiency, but we sacrifice when work is done on our time. And what I do is nearshoring. So this is Latin America workforce for U.S. companies. Nice. So Latin America talent all over Mexico, Brazil, Argentina. But that's just kind of what it is. I'll give you my founder story.
Yeah.
So a little over 10 years ago, I was in San Francisco. Kind of grew up in the talent space.
Okay.
From the Midwest.
What part of the Midwest?
I grew up just outside Chicago.
Okay. I'm from Indiana. I'm an Indiana University grad and grew up in Bloomington. So there were a lot of people that I went to school with from the region.
Yeah. Chicago was kind of the capital where
that's right.
Everybody, from Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan,
right. My son lives there now. We've got family. Awesome. My in-laws are from Chicago. I mean, that's where their roots. So.
Also, we actually just got a big Chicago hot dog cure package. So we've been eating those. Yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Good taste.
How long did it take to get there?
It was in good shape. I always worry about getting food shipped from the mainland, but they've got the dry ice now, so it's good.
Nice. You're like authentic.
The pizza, it always misses something a little bit when it's on that plane to Hawaii, but the other stuff is okay. But anyway, grew up in the Midwest, ended up in California, was in San Francisco, surrounded by all these tech people, and I think it's important to note that I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family. Yeah. My dad worked for the same manufacturing company for 30 years. Mom raised me and my brothers. Got 2 other brothers, so wild house, and WrestleMania every day and broken furniture. Everything, but great place to grow up.
She's wrangling the chaos on the daily.
Yeah, all the time. But she's been blessed as a grandma. So I didn't really have this context of being an entrepreneur. I didn't know any people that own plumbing business or electricians or anything like that. So my first real exposure to entrepreneurship was in San Francisco, which is a kind of a different kind. Um,
Yeah.
it's like that venture capital funded. No one's trying to create like a lifestyle that makes them 200K a year. They're trying to create $1 billion company,
Right.
and they have to have a massive vision, huge total addressable market, sell employees on that vision to take a lower salary in exchange for stock, sell investors to continue to follow on.
Right.
So you're around really intelligent people. Um, I had a big imposter syndrome when I got there because I went to a school called Southern Illinois University,
Oh
nowhere
yeah.
near as elite as Indiana. And, nobody had ever heard of it. And when I got there, everybody seemed to have gone to Stanford or Berkeley or Indiana. They were all, really,
Oh,
really great schools. And it took me like 5 or 6 years to even kind of have the courage, to try to be an entrepreneur, and
right.
try to be a founder.
We all face that too. I mean, that's the imposter syndrome is definitely it's a real
Yeah.
mindset. I mean, I battled it. Every founder we've had on talks about it in their own way. And it's interesting if somebody finally was like, Jennifer, all it is your competence is there way before your confidence. So
Yes.
you just need to recognize that you've got it. Cause I think that's what it is. It's that, oh my God, am I worthy? Am I smart enough? Do I fit in? Is anybody going to listen to me? And somebody was like, yeah, you've got the chops. Just stop being afraid of wondering what they're thinking. Just do it. But yeah, I don't know what it is, why we get that, but it is a real.
Yeah. That was really, really well said. The competence leads to confidence to
Yeah.
do it. And I think that was the case for me. I had a good run. I was running the talent function for a lot of these startups and had a great story where we were rated like the number one recruiting company in the world for companies under 1,000, and grew this fintech company, and then had a couple other nice stories. So I think that's what I needed. I needed this like external validation,
Right.
And then I also did grad school where I had this program where I was doing National University of Singapore,
Mm,
but then also UCLA in California.
nice.
And everyone's heard of UCLA, and it's a good
Right.
school. National University of Singapore is the number one school in Asia, but here in the U.S. we don't really think about anything outside of our country. But originally, I didn't have this entrepreneurship vision still yet. I wanted to be an expat, and I wanted to be an expat in Asia, and I thought this would just kind of happen naturally. I wanted that life and all the stories to tell. I remember, so my wife grew up, actually, she was a daughter of an expat who worked for hotels in Asia.
Okay.
And I think that really kind of like fed into this. I want stories. I want a cool,
Yeah.
And funny enough, when I tried really hard to get that expat experience, it was so difficult. It didn't matter. It didn't matter at all that I was going to be an MUS grad. What they really cared about is, did I speak Chinese and what did I have to offer? So I did have a contact. And maybe the lesson here is, don't be afraid to ask. So I had a contact in Shanghai who was really a successful entrepreneur, had some capital. And I told him after he said, no, you're not going to be an expat for me. I said, well, or he's like, I like your initiative. Come back if there's anything interesting.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to reach back out, I think was the message. So a month or two went by, and I had this idea of, I've got this thesis for a business where in San Francisco, New York, you've got fintechs popping up left and right. And this is, 10 years ago.
Right.
Fintechs popping up left and right. It's kind of like the AI boom today,
Yeah.
like just fintechs everywhere. And they all had this pattern where usually a bunch of product people had a great vision as founders. They're from the finance world, so lots of capital coming in.
Right. They've got those connections. That's their circles. Yeah.
And totally agnostic about the tech. They didn't really care. So I pitched this idea that we could be the company that builds the tech for these fintech. And he liked the idea. And I raised $2 million, kind of my first real go. That was stressful doing that though. I spent 2 months of pitch decks and trying to figure out how to do discounted forecasts and, you know, all this stuff.
Right. What are
Discounted
you
cash.
what are you giving away? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was all stressful, but got it. And I decided to keep sales in San Francisco. But the $2 million, which sounded like an enormous amount of money from where I grew up,
Yeah.
doesn't get you very far in San Francisco. There's no way I could have hired a bunch of engineers. I
Oh,
mean,
no.
we would have
Yeah.
ran out of money, and
That's like three or four people.
yeah, we would have ran out of money fast. And for those that don't know, it's not that it's like a greedy place. It's just so expensive.
It's so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I had a one-bedroom apartment 10 years ago. That was $4,500 a month. And
Right.
when we said that,
no one owns, you know.
yeah,
I mean,
and
everyone rents. My brother lives in the Bay Area.
yeah,
And so, yeah, he's never owned. I mean, he lived in New York and then went from New York over to San Francisco, or really, he's in Alameda. But he's like, I've never owned. I don't need to own. I wouldn't even know what to do with a house.
Yeah, and it's
Like,
so normal. It's so normalized, you know, that you meet people in their 40s and they've got two roommates and
right.
professionals. But it's the only place I know. Maybe New York is like that. But anyway, you know, the thesis stuck, and I decided to build in Argentina. So I moved, you know, came home one day, you know, after I knew the investor was going to say yes, and told my wife, so I think we'll get that expat experience, but it's going to be in Argentina. And then she's like, well, remind me where that is.
Right.
So, you know, pulled out the map and like, okay, we're going to go there. We're going to live there. She's like, yeah, let's do it. You know, we were at a time in our life without kids and seeking that adventure. So we got it. So I got the entrepreneurship and the expat experience, just at a totally different part of the world than I expected. And we moved to Buenos Aires. And for those that haven't been there, I describe it maybe as the most first world of the third world countries, or the most third world of the first world. Um, it looks like Paris, the most stunning architecture, tree-lined streets, cafes, the best steak you ever had in your life. If you enjoy wine, the Malbec is just out of this world. Empanadas and croissants. But the trade-off is Wild West inflation, super ambiguous on how to do business, real no organization, very pro-employee versus pro-employer, high taxes, just a suffocating place to do business, and a very confusing place. So I guess you could say that my first entrepreneurship experience was on hard mode. You know, and for those that listen that have ever played video games, for me it's been a long time that I would play sports games, and you could play on rookie mode, veteran mode, starter mode, or all-star mode. You know? I guess like I just picked it up, and my first game was an all-star mode, and it was hard, but ended up figuring it out, and we grew that first business to about 85 engineers, and found an office space, and found attorneys, people that could set up accounting and payroll, and did a lot of hiring. My Spanish kind of stayed the same when I got there because the English level is so good. You have no idea the way that they speak. It's not this accented or kind of scripted English. It's so natural and unscripted, just like we're having right here on this podcast.
They're very fluent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you sell that business, or did it evolve into what Plugg Technologies is?
Yeah. So that business is still around. Sold it. I sold my share of the business right when I had moved to Hawaii and was traveling a ton, just a ton. And I'll tell you, Jennifer, there is no easy way to travel from Hawaii to Argentina. And you know, when we had our son, 19, I just didn't want to travel anymore, you know, or at least for a while.
Priorities change.
Yeah, I didn't want to travel. We had our little girl, you know, the year after, and I just didn't want to be away for that long.
Right.
So, but I knew that I really liked this nearshore world. I thought that it was super undervalued. The talent was so good. It was on our time zone. Not enough people saw it. So I sold my shares in that business, used that to get another company off the ground in the middle called Bali Staffing, which has nothing to do with Indonesia. I've got a dog who's a Boston Terrier. We had him before the kids. His name is Bali. So I named my recruiting company called Bali Staffing, which confused everybody. And, if I knew it was going to be a successful company, I probably would have picked a different name.
Right.
But we grew that. We were basically leasing recruiters from Latin America that spoke perfect English to venture funded tech companies that raised capital and needed to hire right away.
Mm.
So typically what happens is maybe you've got like one recruiter or a head of recruiting, you raise $10 million, $20 million, and all of a sudden, and the pressure just goes straight down from the
Right.
VC is spend my money so you can beat the market.
Right.
The CEO is
But I need
saying,
to see a return fast.
yeah.
Yeah.
The CEO is yelling at the CTO, where's the product? The CTO is yelling at the head of recruiting, where's my team? So it all kind of trickles. But as soon as you raise that money, it's impossible for a single recruiter to hire like 15 elite high profile
Right.
engineers, a lot of effort and sourcing that goes into it. So what usually happens is the recruiter will say, hold on, I need 6 weeks to build my recruiting team.
Mm.
And then we can go out and build your guys' team. So my play was, well, what if you had turnkey sources and recruiters that understood the San Francisco tech ecosystem that you could just kind of push a button and they start next week.
Yeah.
And that worked during the quiet quitting VC tech boom
Right.
of 2020 to 2022. It was huge. We got to about 60 recruiters,
Wow.
insanely profitable. It was so easy, like business not easy mode. And I
Right.
thought I was such a great salesperson,
You're
but I
like,
wasn't.
I'm an awesome founder. Look at me.
Yeah, I thought I was just God's gift to entrepreneurship.
Then what became the oh shit moment there?
As soon as this is probably middle 2022, and I had, I didn't need to do it, but I think I fell into the founder's trap of I'm going to start to build a business around this.
Yeah.
I mean, I had all the connections. I kind of
Right.
landed all the projects, and I had a
So
small, small.
how do I scale it? How do I make it not
Yeah,
just me? How do I
yeah,
yeah. So you're
that's
doing
exactly right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I had a small team of people that could deliver, and it was crazy profitable. And all of a sudden, I decided, all right, let's hire 10 expensive people in the
Mm.
States and try to build this empire. And as soon as I did that, I mean, we'll probably, I did that for a few months. And then the VC tech market started to crash in
Mm.
mid 2022. So companies started to pull back, just like when there's a big giant bubble, nobody knows
Right.
it. Nobody knows they're in the giant bubble. The bubble popped and it crashed quick. And companies not only didn't need to hire didn't need to grow, they didn't need the recruiters anymore.
Yeah.
So we had big teams of recruiters, 10 people there, 8 people there, 5 people there. And these companies had unlimited budgets for recruiting,
Mm.
but it also meant that like they could pull it when they needed it.
Right.
I mean, I guess like analogous to the US, when there was a project that whatever administration's in charge, they could pull that money and get it done, but it wasn't like budgeted like normal things are.
Right.
So like you probably have a budget for cybersecurity every year. You have a budget for
But recruiting, you're doing it based on needs.
That's right. That's
Right.
right. So the need went away. Business basically went away. The business still exists, but it's nowhere near what it was. But those 3 years was the best wave ever. And I did one thing smart in that I used some of the gains and surpluses
Mm-hmm.
to fund Plugg.
Okay.
Bali staffing needed almost nothing. It was like $2,000 and that became over $10 million in revenue. With Plugg, I had this thesis that it was much more related to the first company, but instead of Argentina, I wanted kind of like free range
Right.
talent, all over the continent. I didn't want all the layers that we had. When a client wanted to do a project, we had a CTO and an architect and a project manager and a lead. And I felt like there was too much telephone kind of going
Yeah.
on, with that. And then we kept trying to play the currency game,
Mm.
of, well, the peso's down and the dollar's up, so maybe we'll make a little more profit.
Right.
But I think that was just more stress than anything,
That's-
as you're trying to map currencies. And, we just decided to
How do we
put
streamline
Plugg.
this?
Yeah. So Plugg just became, let's hire great people that are senior. They work from home. They work directly with the client. Pure staffing. Let's not make solutions out of this. It's just staffing.
Yeah.
And I found someone in 2019, and it was a 3-year recruiting pitch. And I finally got him to join. He had been an expat for 30 years. I'm sorry, an executive for 30 years in the staffing world. And some of that was as an expat in Monterrey, Mexico. So he understood Latin America really well, and hired him to be the president of Plugg pretty early. And it was a really good compliment because he's exceptionally good at running the day to day. I think my world has become very like founder driven stuff.
Right. You're more visionary. You're more where's the company going? But he's that solid number 2 that's looking at the numbers, building the systems, building the processes,
Yeah. And
managing
he's
the team so that
so good.
you can focus on where's the due north and how do we keep pushing.
Amazing. Yeah, that's really well said. That's exactly kind of our yin yang. And I chase
Uh,
bright shiny things. He
he's
keeps the
like
trains on
he's
time.
like, let's pull it back. Let's put some guardrails up.
That's right. That's exactly right. And like for me, it's really hard for me to say no to anything. Like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's try.
Yeah. You're probably it's like service-based people, especially founders in the service-based business. We're
Yeah,
natural pleasers, helpers.
yeah,
And so sometimes if we don't have the guardrails on ourselves, we need our people to,
yeah,
to help put
yeah,
those
yeah,
guardrails on. So throughout your journey has been fascinating, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of our listeners because um, the challenges of the staffing, you kind of was a solution to that, but then also the operations. But I'm curious of as you've kind of entering in this new like expanding this category of nearshoring, are you seeing with the of AI, the AI boom, back in and but also the boom after COVID, and I think really 2022, 2023, 24, people are getting more of a sense of using um, uh, virtual assistants, virtual help in a broader sense. Is
yeah.
that is that helping? I mean, is that the trajectory you're seeing too? That there's more acceptance?
Yeah, so right now, here in early 2020, we have never been busier. Latin America, and I've said this for a few years, I really think the 2020s are the decade for Latin America. But a lot of things had to happen. Look at what's going on in Eastern Europe and Ukraine, for a couple of years.
Right.
You know, really sad, but it's a reality. And then also in Asia, there's kind of a fatigue that we've seen where companies, I think, love the cost benefits of Asia, but they started to see there's some trade offs.
Right.
Somebody's sacrificing time zone, and it's hard to get work done, especially get work done the way you want it when e- either you're either somebody's awake at 3 in the morning
Right.
to match your time, or you're sending emails when your workday is over, the next person wakes up, they log in, and you're just hoping, when you're the one logging
Right.
in, that the work was delivered to how you wanted it.
Right.
But if it wasn't, you write your instructions and your feedback, and then you
That's
send it
right.
back, and
There's
then
such a lag. Yeah. And we joked around about it when we were using some folks in different times. We were like, okay, who's going to be team 2 a.m.? That's
Yeah.
got to get up and like, because we were like, we can't do the lag. So who's going to wake up, and have a meeting to make sure that everything's on board. So as we go to sleep, that we'll have something delivered when we wake up. But
Yeah.
having yeah, so it was a joke in our office of who's team 2 a.m.
The 2 a.m. club. Yeah. And you're not alone. There's a lot of companies that kind of went through that. And then there's a work style part that not everybody talks about, which is, and I appreciate this can be an unfiltered podcast. We
That's
keep it
right.
right. So I've spent doing this degree in Singapore. I got some real exposure to the Asia region. And I think like a personal anecdote was, so it's a dual degree. So we have professors from Singapore, professors from California. And it was fascinating when we would take these, and we were all, it was an executive MBA program. So we're all a little bit older, a little more confident.
Right.
About half the cohort was from Asia, half the cohort's in the States. And we would take these classes at UCLA, and you could see the professors were kind of like chomping at the bit for a debate. They loved, they loved to go back and forth.
Right.
And, well, what do you think, Michael? Well, Brian doesn't agree with you,
Right.
and
Let's
I
have a
think,
dialogue.
yeah, and I think it was fun. Like people enjoyed the challenge and the rigor of it, and
Right.
testing ideas.
Right. The room rises based on the question being
Yeah,
presented. Yeah.
that's right. And then we would do this in Singapore, but the professors were not into that. It's a
It's
higher,
authoritarian. Yeah.
yeah, authoritarian, hierarchical, respect for the elder. Don't question what I'm saying.
Right. Right.
And I think it really kind of threw them off when, we were used to this debate, and then we would want to
You guys come in
engage.
and we're like, hey, we want to work on our critical thinking skills and
Yeah, yeah, totally. So I look at not just Singapore, but I think that applies pretty evenly, throughout that region. India is super hierarchical. So companies were experiencing a lot of rework. And we would talk to customers, have you ever outsourced before? Almost every customer we talked to was in a hiring role. So, they're 10 years in their career. Yeah. Well, which countries? India. And it was interesting. It was such a bipolar response. For them, it was either the greatest thing ever or it was never again. I will never do that again. Either it was the time zone or it was, I would ask them to do something, but I would have to go to the big boss and it would trickle down, like 5 levels, and they would agree, but they were agreeing that they understood what I was saying, not that they agreed in the direction. And
right.
there was a lot of rework. So it was cheap on the surface, but we would have to redo it.
The spinning. That's right. Because there's not alignment. We're not agreeing on the vision, the strategy, the way that we need to go about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So they weren't factoring that into the cost. They're just like, wow, this is a super cheap, way more effective. And then the Philippines, got a lot of respect for this country, but it's a very process driven country.
Right.
If you're an entrepreneur with a 10-step process for everything that you do and it's all documented, I think the Philippines is the best country for you. You'll knock it out of the park. But I don't think most entrepreneurs are like that. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
I don't document a lot. I chase stuff. I don't know what problem's going to come up tomorrow. I don't have long processes. And I probably should, but I don't. And if I were to throw something that's ambiguous and not clear, and I don't know, everything's just kind of out of the box with me, it's really difficult cultural alignment. And even though they speak English in the Philippines, it's just really, really difficult. So I would ask your audience to think the last time they called United Airlines or were transferred to a call center in the Philippines. If they had a very easy, simple request, taken care of,
Right.
no problem. But if there was anything unique or complex about that, it was very stressful for both the call center rep and for you as the customer. So that's what has really led me to doubling down on Latin America. We see a lot of the headlines, and I think a lot of the audience might be listening like, well, what about this cartel thing? And what about Maduro being, you know, you know, like kidnapped out of Venezuela and
Right.
bread lines and inflation? I ask you to decouple bad leaders from the population. The population of Latin America, and there's a lot of different countries here and
That's
different
right.
cultures, but generally speaking, the population has been dealt a rough hand. Wild inflation, poor government policies, but that's created an environment where people need to be scrappy, they need to be adaptable, flexible, gritty,
Right.
creative, find workarounds, good problem solvers. And as an entrepreneur, that's exactly what I've looked.
Yeah, especially if you're building, we call it in your foundership as you're building a company. Now, they always say like new level, new devil, right? But when
Yeah,
you're starting out, you need to have, you're a mindset of startup, but your team needs to have kind of that startup mindset, where you do need to be, everybody needs to be scrappy and entrepreneurial in their own mindset of how do we get this done? But also in the mind, like, but with the mindset of like, how do we scale it? And then you get to that next level, and it's like some of those people can continue on, feel empowered, they're creative, they're problem solving, but you need scalable mindsets, right?
yeah,
Because until you really get to a few other layers up, when you get to that mature, then you need sustainers,
yeah, yeah,
the rule followers. But if you want to build a culture that of continuation of innovation and play, empowerment, inclusivity, you always need to have, at least the culture needs to be fed with curiosity, with problem solving skills, teaching people how to frame decisions. You need all that. But when you're just starting out and going and trying to get from, you know, 0 to 100, you want all of your team in that, like all
yeah,
creative problem solvers, high
100%.
curiosity, don't say, and even with companies who are I would say stagnant, you need to have that disruptor mindset to question, why are we doing it this way? Maybe there's a better way, because one of the, we call it the telltale signs of a culture that's going to, it's either stagnant or going in decline, is if the mindset of everybody in your company, if I ask why do you do it this way, and it's, well, it's the way we've always done it, and they have been in this role for 15 years, then it's
Mm.
like your culture is killing your company.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And you asked something interesting, Jennifer, about AI and like what's
Yeah.
happening there. Because I know it's on everybody's mind and
Yeah.
it's all over my LinkedIn feed and I hear about it all the time.
It's going to take
So
over the world.
yeah, and it's scary and you don't want to be left behind. Um, when you look at AI though, there's this world, I think either automation or you're able to like connect a lot of different apps. But that also means if you're a process person, you're most likely going to replace the VAs that were following exact processes with AI. So that's where if I'm in Asia, I'm much more nervous right now
Mm,
because I've lived off of process and you just throw bodies at it to get the
right.
process done. Where Latin America is
They're building it.
very similar to the US.
Right.
There are AI startups all over Latin America too. There's
Yeah.
venture capital money flowing to Brazil, Argentina. They're building all this stuff. They're using all this stuff. Remember, these are creative, curious people
Right.
that are scrappy. They're on the same time zone and they've got access to all the AI tools that we do. So I think they're multipliers for your business. AI is not replacing them, just like they're not replacing us. They're just making us this much more productive.
That's right. Right. As we always say, like AI, you know, even the best tools, it's it's still just a co-pilot, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
pilot still has to create the vision, get the alignment, engineer the prompt,
yeah, yeah.
and then also review it on the back end to go based on the experience and expertise. How do I modify this, or how do I push on it? How do I think critically and discern, which path? Because yeah, it's not a replacement of humans.
That's right. That's right.
So, is there? So. Well, I know we could go on and on around this, um, but in all of your lessons learned, really through the companies, now you have kind of a really strong number two that's supporting this business. What have you learned about yourself? Like, what was the most surprising thing that you've learned about yourself through this journey?
Yeah. So, remember, I didn't grow up in this entrepreneur world
Right.
10 years ago. I didn't think this was me at all. And now I couldn't imagine any other structure. There's no way I could work for anybody else. And I've since created more companies. Just here in Hawaii, I've got a cleaning business and a locksmith company with operators in
So you're
each.
like, I'm always looking for the problem to solve.
Yeah, yeah. And then, I have know-how and capital now, and I've been connected with other entrepreneurial people that might just need those two things, but they know
Mm,
their domain. And I've got a little AI workflow company now that's getting off the ground, and little ecosystem. So long answer to your question, but I think what really surprised me is that I had it in me all along. I had this
yeah.
entrepreneurial mindset that I was just afraid
And
to take the leap until I did.
isn't that funny how fear kind of cripples us and blinds us sometimes? And I love what, because we hear this a lot from founders and entrepreneurs, that I feel like we are as a um, as a role, like we self reflect and we become very self aware of ourselves. And what's really revealing is it's when we're put under pressure, like
Yeah,
most people. I mean, you really put anybody in any kind of adversity, any kind of pressure, it really reveals your inner character and your inner spirit.
yeah,
And I think, for some reason the entrepreneurs, the founders, were built a little bit differently because I
yeah,
think we're resilient. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't know. That's kind of the theme that we hear, that red thread throughout
yeah.
the conversations.
I mean, at this point, I think I'm almost bored if there's no pressure.
Like, where is the chaos? I need to go. I need to create more chaos in my life. Versus, we're like, we want to welcome it, then we'll organize it and we'll structure it. You're like, I need more. I need more craziness in my life.
That's true.
Well, so I know that we also, as founders, we tend to struggle with letting go. So, what was your aha moment in delegating, especially? And then, how are you? I mean, your whole company is based on, hey, you need to delegate. So, how are you striking that balance?
Yeah. So what we offer our customers, we've got about 100 people now that are working on projects, talent all over Latin America. A lot of the traditional stuff, IT, but we've got virtual assistants, call center people, marketing, accounting,
Right.
essentially any job you could do in the
Like,
States. Yeah, I probably would advise there's no need to hire a junior person in Latin America. You can get a senior person in Latin America for the
mm,
price you pay an entry level person in the States. So that's that cost arbitrage. And then you could build leaders in Latin America.
mm,
But I still think it's important to have the executives, of your company in the States. I still think that's important. Um, the part about letting go, I think I've gotten really, really good at that. I like to read about the details that are happening, but I don't often interject anymore. It's been a long
mm,
time since I really, felt the need to do that, unless something is just totally missed.
right.
Uh, and I'm not afraid to tell people, and they know it.
But that's also a sign that you've empowered people, you trust them, you've built that. Yeah. That
Yeah,
confidence. Yeah.
yeah. But if it sounds so, cliche, but if you can make the right hires, you really can get out of the way.
Right.
If you make
That's
the
right.
wrong hires, you're going to be stuck in this mud for a long
That's
time.
right. That's right. And on board, and I think that was kind of my lesson learned of hire the right people with the right mindset for where your company is, but also where you need it to go.
Yeah,
Um, but be really clear on your expectations, because that's where I failed. I've put people in place to for them to kind of come in and tell me
right.
what I should expect, and um, we weren't aligned on vision and strategy, and it was on me to do that. So yeah,
Yeah,
um, those were some hard lessons,
yeah.
expensive lessons.
I know about those.
So if you had to sum up your journey in one word, what word do you use?
Probably resilience. I've had to put my head in the sand. I had a $250,000 invoice. That 4 years later, I'm still trying to chip away at that, and
Yeah,
you know, bad hires, bad relationships, whatever. But you just gotta keep getting off the mat. So I'd say
that's
resilience.
right. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah,
Even the smallest baby steps, you're still making progress.
that's right. Yeah.
All right. Now, if you look ahead to the next chapter, what word do you want to describe that chapter?
I would say ambassador. I want to be the ambassador to this really exciting region for people.
Right. Oh, that's great. So you're even kind of looking at this going, I'm going to create this category and
Yeah.
I'm going to own it. I'm going to celebrate it. That's wonderful. I like that word. That's a new word. I don't think we've had anyone say that for their chapter. Uh, it, and if you best piece of advice, either that you have been given and you really took to heart and it's become kind of like your, you know, business mantra or mindset, or is there something and advice that you have created to go, look, other people,
Yeah. I
do
think
this.
I think the two pieces of advice I would give. The first is it's so easy to get distracted as a business owner by things that are
Mhm.
not really that important. I've spent weeks on should I be an S corp or a C corp, or let me go through all the commas on my website to make sure those are correct, because that's
Right.
why I'm not getting business. That's why I'm not growing. It's
Right. Right. Right.
these darn commas. Focus on getting the customer. There's
Mm,
nothing more important than that. You don't have a business without a customer. I think
right.
that's really important. The second is, maybe for your audience to think about how they build their team. 25% of Americans have passports, and even those that have visited Latin America, it's like Mai Tais and Pina Coladas in Cancun.
They've been on resorts. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just this whole world of scrappy people that are creative and could really help your business. Don't be afraid to think a little more globally, but you also don't have to sacrifice time zone. So
Yeah.
look at Latin America as a place to grow your team.
That's nice. Great pieces of advice. Last question for you, or actually second last. If we meet a year from now, next summer, what are we celebrating? What win for you are we celebrating? I'm gonna come out to Hawaii.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Poke bowls. I'm sure.
Ah,
I'm sure you had your fill when you were there.
I did. It was
Uh,
wonderful.
yeah, I still eat it a lot, all the time. It doesn't get old. I think I'm 9 years in now in a while.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
And we had a wonder. My friend, her, a lot of the physician, surgical nurses that are Korean and
yeah.
Vietnamese, and they made this like beautiful Korean barbecue, authentic like spread. We came home from a hike and it was all done with the little like the tabletop little grills and stuff, and
Mm.
we're like, this is so amazing. And they were like, well, not only are you, we want you to experience the Kauai culture, we want to bring our culture here too
Oh,
to
that's
experience.
cool.
So it was wonderful. Yeah.
That's cool. That's
Oh yeah.
cool.
But the poke bowls, yeah.
Yeah, that's poke bowls. I'm thinking about poke. I forgot your original question,
I know.
Jennifer.
What are we celebrating? The win. What win?
What are we celebrating? We're celebrating with poke bowls.
That's
Now,
right.
I would say, so just like most companies I would give advice to is you kind of got to level up. And if there are baseball fans here, to get to the majors, you got to go through single A and double A and triple A and
Right.
make it. And we do the same thing with our customer base. We'll say yes to the small, and then we kind of graduate and graduate. And now we're working with some decent sized companies. So I would say a year from now, we have comfortably moved to consistent mid-market businesses.
We will celebrate that. We're manifesting it. We're putting it out there in the universe for you. Oh, I appreciate you being on the show with us and hanging out with me and chatting with me. This has been fantastic. But before we do go, where can people connect with you, find out more about Plugg and your plethora of companies? But most importantly, where do you want them to go?
Most importantly, Plugg, Plugg.tech. TECH is our website. And by the way, if you're just kind of curious about Latin America, there's country guides and podcast episodes and all sorts of good stuff on there. But if you did want to reach out to me, there's a contact us form right there on the website.
Nice.
All goes right to me, and I will be happy to spend some time with you.
Very good. We will tag all of that in the episode. Thank you again, Brian. And
Thank you.
that is a wrap on today's chaos. But the work doesn't stop here. If you really enjoyed this episode, you're not alone. Subscribe, share, and leave us that 5-star review on Spotify. It really does help more founders find their way through the noise and the clutter and the chaos of what real advice and unfiltered advice will get you. And if you're craving clarity, not more chaos, our sponsor, Bright Marketing, offers a founder clarity sprint designed to help you get unstuck, focused, and moving forward with confidence. You can explore that and more founder tools and episodes over at Orange Whip. That's orangewip.com. And that's WIP, that stands for work in progress. Or shoot an email over to hello@orangewip.com. Until next time, stay curious and stay scrappy. And remember, we are all a work in progress. See you again next week.